Hello, everybody. Scott Golden with the Golden Opportunities Coaching YouTube channel. Welcome to those of you who are new. Welcome back to those of you seasoned veterans of what we do around here. What we do around here is bring about conversations of a psychological, mental health, emotional health paradigm, coaching paradigm. We do that as often as we can, usually several times per week, and we make something happen in a good way. There's a couple ways you can reach out if you're looking for coaching, life, business, relationship, habit change, all that good stuff. Would love to be of value to you and ultimately. Um, that is my goal. Served over 18,000 people in the last 15 years. Would love to add you to the list. Please feel free to reach out at PO Perception on Twitter and or in the About Me section of the YouTube page. Either one will give you a connection in a good way. So, what are some signs you may be dealing with more depression than you can currently handle? One, you're pondering the same things in circles. Circular thinking and or not finding solutions to challenges is one way to identify that you may be going through some sort of mental health challenge and or ability to not necessarily see things in the best of ways. Now that doesn't necessarily mean you're a bad person. It also doesn't mean that it can't change tomorrow. But at the end of the day, you have to consider that when you are repeatedly and redundantly thinking about, asking about, looking for, dealing with the same things over and over and over again, there are challenges related to that, and those challenges ultimately don't necessarily lead you in a good or healthy or worthwhile direction. Some of the challenges also become when you're thinking about the same things not coming to new conclusions, you're using energy in a way that's going to lead you in a direction that's eventually going to burn you out. And so the burnout level is not necessarily something that we want to emphasize or look at. And that can be another major challenge in a lot of ways. The next thing there is to kind of look at things from the are you looking at things from a negative, positive, or neutral standpoint? Obviously, negativity is where most people that are dealing with depression go. And if you can't find a positive in a situation or a positive in your life and or finding ways to be grateful for even small things in short doses is overwhelming or too painful or just something that you don't think you can deal with on any level, it can be extremely painful and difficult to do, then you may want to look at the possibility of, acknowledging that you are dealing with some level of depression, some level of overdue sadness. And again, loneliness is another thing too. A lot of times, and this is a hard one, working with people who are dealing with extreme loneliness and or extreme depression, social isolation caused by social media and or the dependence on same is a thing that I deal with so often that I wish I didn't, honestly, because for the most part, the degradation of personal relationships has a direct correlation to the rise in dependence on technology. And so when people are dealing with extreme loneliness and or there's isolation socially for an extended period of time to the point where a person doesn't feel significant or special any longer, there are a lot of challenges that relate to what has to happen next. In other words, a person has to have at least a few people in their corner that are going to lead them in a good direction, or a person that they feel will support them moving forward in some way. You know, in a good way there. The next thing to look at is the meaning that you give to things, and if you find life or its process to be meaningless. And a lot of times, people with prolonged depression will in fact have this opinion because everything they try or everything they think they have tried does not yield the results they want. Therefore, they feel like their effort doesn't really matter. And in feeling their effort doesn't really matter, they end up having the belief that nothing really sticks. Their lack of interest in things they once enjoyed, which is a common thing for most people with depression to experience. But if you amplify that long enough to the point where it's virtually impossible, if not, I wouldn't say improbable, but like if it's just so painful that you really can't get to a good space within it, then what begins to happen is people start to struggle to feel like anything they do is going to make any real, lasting, meaningful difference. And so the absence of that difference ability is also super overwhelming for a number of reasons, and we begin to kind of feel like burnout is an inevitability, or burnout is something that we constantly have to deal with, versus the idea that we don't necessarily have to deal with it, but it is something that plays on us on a regular basis. And so obviously reaching out for a diversity of help and or ways to get the help we need is important. Finding your specific plan for treatment or plan for change can be challenging because every person has to find what works for them. There is no universal cure-all. Also, medication works for some, doesn't work for others. Meditation works for some, doesn't work for others. Social engagement works for some, doesn't work for others. So finding your unique way of dealing with depression or any mental and emotional imbalance can be an interesting challenge, but I encourage you to do so that you can get more out of daily living. Until then, keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Until next time, everybody.